Have you ever received really good news that ended up not being very good? Or had to go to an event you didn't want to, but it ended up being a lot of fun? Well, that's kind of the way life goes. You don't know whether an event's going to be really good or really bad until after the fact. This is expanded on by Alan Watts in the parable of the Chinese farmer. Once there was a really poor farmer in ancient China. He lived in a village with other really poor farmers. His father was a really poor farmer. He owned a small plot of land and a small house, and he worked it with his son every day. They were very hardworking. They had one horse to help them with all the work. Until one day, the horse ran off. And the farmer's neighbor came over, and he said, "I'm so sorry for you. This is so sad. This is such bad news." And the farmer looked up at him before he could say anything else and said, "Maybe yes, maybe no." They continued farming. They had to work twice as hard without the horse being there. They just became poorer and poorer until one day the horse came back. It was followed by a flock of horses. They had more horses than they knew what to do with. The neighbors saw this and came over. And he was like, "This is such good news. I'm so excited for you." And the farmer looked up at him and said, "Maybe yes, maybe no," and got back to work. They kept working on the farm. The son started breaking in these horses, training them so that they could be ridden. Until one day, a few weeks later, the son got bucked off the horse and thrown into a pile of rocks, broke his leg. He couldn't work for a very long time, and this was very sad news, as now the farmer had to do all the work by himself. They just got poorer and poorer, and the neighbor came over with a gift, and they said, "This is for you. I'm so sorry. This is such bad news." The farmer took the gift and said, "Maybe yes, maybe no." They carried on. Well, a few months later, while the son was still recovering, the farmer was poor, they were working. The neighboring village had major disputes with them. They got in a big fight. And so the leader of their village came around conscripting all the young men, drafting them into the army. Many men died in this conflict. But the farmer's son wasn't one of them, because he had a broken leg. The neighbor came over and said, "You're so lucky. This is so good for you that your son didn't have to fight in the fight." For the last time, the farmer replied, "Maybe yes, maybe no."